Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about some cool new juicy Armada tidbits to hold us over until the end of July when the Gen Con time frame would happen, and presumably we'll actually get some real meaty announcements for Armada. But for right now, I've got some cool little things that I found out that I want to share with you about the Clone Wars and those introductory kits that they're going to have for the Clone Wars. So before I jump into that, let me just do a couple of admin things. If you guys are interested in supporting the channel, there are links down in the description below for Patreon or finding me on other social media like Twitter and Facebook and stuff like that. If you want to become a patron, there's lots of cool stuff going on with Patreon right now. There's some new giveaways I just posted in there as well. Also, there's still time left to enter to win the $25 Amazon gift card giveaway. You just have to be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. And if none of that floats your boat, there are some links for merch in the description below. Also, right below this video, you should see some of the new gator necks, like this Ahsoka one that we've got here, which is pretty cool. There's brand new ones now in the shop too. They're working on new ones all the time. There's Darth Maul inspired, Vader inspired, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, some Double Critical podcast ones. There's t-shirts as well, all kinds of really cool stuff. So all of that stuff definitely helps support the channel as well. All right, that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. And by the way, I love these things because they're super easy to put on and take off. And it's a little warm to wear them all the time, but they're really convenient to pull up and pull down. So what am I looking at here? What's behind me? This is a website, a distributor website called Lion Rampant Imports and Distribution. I will put a link to this site in the description below so you can peruse it at your leisure. But a really interesting thing I found here. This is presumably, we were probably on course to have this stuff announced at Adepticon initially. I believe that was currently the plan. There was some articles that had said that all this stuff was going to be announced, so it would have been available for distributors to pre-order. It should, in theory, it should be, getting close to being shipped to retailers, in the next month or two, in time for maybe an early fourth quarter release like was initially planned, right? Well, that didn't happen. A lot of things got pushed back. And when all that stuff got pushed back, we had some leaks that came out a while back. You may have seen this one here that I talked about a while ago that had, let's talk about the fleet. And I've talked about all of these things, the dial pack, the upgrade card collection, squadrons, and also the Galactic Republic fleet expansion, the Separatist Alliance fleet expansion. That's all cool and good, but there were some questions that I had about the fleet expansions. Like, what is a fleet expansion? Is it going to be like Clone Wars for Legion? Because that was a full-blown starter. It was an entry point, all right? But also for Legion, it was more expensive. Or is it going to be more like X-Wing, where it was just a couple of ships and some expansion cards, or some upgrade cards rather, but not your starting point? Like, would you still need to buy the Armada core set to play? That's really what this boils down to. It's always been one of my top complaints. Well, I found some new interesting things on this particular site. So I'm going to scroll down. And there's, this is a site, if you own like a brick and mortar store, you might, and you're in Canada or something like that, you might order. Well, here they have some of the new things. They got the dial pack, and of course, all of these numbers do synchronize up to that leak that came out of Europe. And while while we might not worry about the leaks all that much because they're not officially confirmed, they haven't really been wrong yet, right? So I have to give them a little bit of weight. But here we've got like the Republic Fighter Squadrons expansion pack, the Separatist, the upgrade card collection, the dial pack. But I want you to look at the top two, 34 and 35. Star Wars Armada, Galactic Fleet Republic Starter, and Separatist Alliance Fleet Starter. That wording is pretty significant. It says starter. It's not fleet expansion. Again, just so we can compare. Initially, it said fleet expansion, and in this case, it says starter. Now, which one do you give more credit to? Well, I give more credit to this one because this one's actually up. Also, Lion Rampant is actually acquired by Asmodee. They're actually owned by Asmodee North America. They actually, so they were acquired in August of 2019. and this was actually really cool information that was brought to my attention from one of you guys actually in the comments, that they had acquired these guys last year. So this is actually an Asmodee-owned distributor putting this out there. So I have to give this website a lot more credibility than I would give just kind of leaks that are coming out of Europe. Now, I get that, you know, there's some human error that can happen. Some things could be typed incorrectly. We talked a little bit about some of the other leaks in a recent video that I found on here as well, and like one of them had a typo, you know, and I get that, you know, human error, that sort of thing can happen. But I have to give this one a lot more weight than the other stuff. And the fact that this one says starter is a pretty big deal, because that likely means that it's going to be first off, if it's only going to be a single faction, right? The fact that it says Galactic Republic and Separatist up here, Separatist Alliance Fleet starter. So you're not going to have to buy, you know, a starter that has 2 factions in it, so presumably it will be cheaper. There'd be no point in them doing starters if they're going to be the same price, or more expensive even. You know, like, it makes a lot more sense for them to lower that price point a little bit, get more people in. That was like one of the biggest barriers to entry for Armada, was the fact that the starter was so expensive when you compared it to X-Wing, which was, from a lot of people's point of view, a very similar game. It's like, well, it's spaceships, right? On a space mat. Well, I'll play the cheaper one. You know, they're both pre-painted, but let me play the cheaper one. People would play X-Wing more than Armada because it was a lot more approachable. It was a lot easier for people to get into, you know. And so I have always said that's one of the main problems, is that Armada you had that $100 core set that didn't really give you much. Like, if you were going to play Empire, you spent $100, you got 1 ship. Have fun with that, you know. Like, I'm like, that's a little bit crazy, and it's not even that great of a ship. I happen to like where the Victory Star Destroyer is now, but here now we have the signs of what looks to be a single faction starter, and this this has so many different ramifications to it. So if they're doing single faction starters like this, can they potentially add individual factions later on? If this is a new formula for them having a single fleet starter, can they now have a First Order fleet starter, in theory, without having to necessarily do the Resistance also? Maybe the First Order has got more of a traditional standing Navy, so it makes more sense to add them. Maybe you do that. Maybe you want to go back and do a more streamlined Imperial fleet starter for new players coming in that don't want to play the Clone Wars. Maybe you got new players that come in that want to just jump into the Galactic Civil War, that don't want the original core set. Maybe they want a single fleet starter. Granted, there's still going to be value with the core set, because if I'm just looking to learn the game, me and a friend, or maybe me and my son or something like that, or me and my daughter, you know, I don't have a daughter, but theoretically if I did, right? If we were looking to, play just at home, just learn the basics of a game, that core set still has functionality. But it'd be really cool if eventually they add fleet starters that are good entry points for single faction players, for both Rebels and Empire as well. This also can pave the way for expansion fleets, something like a Mandalorian fleet or a Chiss Ascendancy fleet. The books and the new, I don't even know what we're going to call it right now, but in the new canon, with all the books and everything that's going on, with all the new TV shows and the expanding universe, we're seeing more and more canon things develop from different cultures and things that are potentially going to be really important. And I'm thinking primarily with what's going on with the Thrawn books, and that we're likely to see Chiss fleets, which is going to be really exciting. I would love to get a Chiss fleet starter at some point. I don't know if we're going to see a Mandalorian fleet with capital ships, but we may see Mandalorian fighters, which could potentially fit into maybe some type of syndicate fleet in theory. But who knows? My point is, going with a single fleet or a single faction fleet starter is a fantastic option to get players into the game and only having to buy one thing, to get them started. Presumably, if it's truly a starter, it will come with everything you need to start playing the game. That means dice, a damage deck. That's a big deal, because dice you can buy separately. Movement tool, you can buy that separately, right? And the movement tool is great, but you can buy it separately, right? Range tool, okay. But a damage deck, if you lose a card for your damage deck, you're just out $100, because the only way to get a damage deck generally, is to buy another whole nother starter. You know, I mean, granted, some people might have an extra one that might hook you up or something like that. But my point stands, there's only one way to get a damage deck right now, and that's in the $100 starter. So I think this is just a great thing, but I'd like to hear what you guys think. I know this isn't really the juiciest bit of info. It's not like really big meat and potatoes type of breaking news. Unfortunately, Armada's got a very slow release schedule, and with, you know, COVID, I haven't been able to like go out to tournaments and play a lot of Armada games, and there's not really a whole lot of stuff for me to report on Armada. So for all you Armada fans out there, thank you for sticking with me. Great things are coming in the future. Very, very great things. But we got to be patient. I'm sure by this time next year, we're going to be looking back and be like, whew, that was a rough time. But Armada fans have been through it. We've been through years of drought, and we've come through stronger. Armada is here to stay. There's several years. There's at least 3 more years worth of content planned for Armada, and that's just for the licensing agreement up through 2023. There will be more after that, provided that nothing crazy happens. We don't see FFG lose the license or anything like that. But they have a really, really strong, they've said it's their strongest plan ever for their miniature games lines, which includes Star Wars Armada. So huge, bright future ahead for Armada. It's really exciting. So stay tuned. I will be bringing you all the news as it comes out. Definitely stay tuned in July, because Gen Con starts at the end of July. FFG's probably going to have some kind of announcements, like an in-flight brief at the beginning of Gen Con. They're doing Gen Con online this year. I'm going to be all into that, and might even take some time off of my day job just to collect information and bring you guys kind of rapid-fire information throughout the course of Gen Con Online. All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks to my patrons on Patreon. You guys are absolutely amazing, so thank you so much. And as always, have a great day.